what I want to break down or touch upon is the three kinds of births that we have. The physical is the one that everybody, as I've mentioned, is aware of. Can anybody who has not seen this presentation before, guess what other kinds of birth do we have? I want to pick on someone who I've not seen before in a retreat. So, Musa? Spiritual birth, okay. Anything else? Anybody with this mind?
I was going to say spiritual birth for
afterlife. Okay, that I'm talking about during your physical life here, the kind of births that you can have. You are right, spiritual is one of them. And there is one more. Anybody else would like to guess? Younger Ahmed. Sorry? Mental, okay, you're on the right lines. What I wanted to highlight is intellectual birth. And now, for those of you who said spiritual birth, I'm going to come back to you. Musa, you're going to pick up again, picked up on. What do you mean by spiritual birth? But that birth happened in the world of spirits. We're now in this world of the dunya. So you are right, one of the births is spiritual. Right? Anybody else? Want to guess? Anybody want left? What do we mean by spiritual birth? No? Yes, Ismail?
Maybe it's your awareness to Islam again. So when we're born with a blank slate. We don't really know much, but then we're fed Islam, and that could be our spiritual birth again. Yeah, we awaken.
You basically you're on the right lines. This is when you really achieve that true purpose, when you connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because majority of us, whilst we are the best of creation, we are ashraf al-makhluq, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in the light and in the form of the beloved messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Many people are not aware. It's not that the human beings was first created and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was created like the human beings. It was basically the other way around, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was created and we human beings have been fashioned in their form in terms of the creation. That's why we are the best of creation. But unfortunately, majority of us, we are born. And I can tell you, I can relate this to you from my own personal experience. We were children of immigrant parents, and these were economic migrants who came to these countries from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. They didn't come to spread the deen. Their hijrah was for money, which is the truthful and frank sort of answer as to why most of our parents came to these countries, was to earn money. And when we were growing up, it was built into us: work hard, go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a good job, make lots, married, and live happily ever after. Right? That is the script that we were given. So we sort of, grew up, became mature. We saw everybody's running in this direction, and we started running in that direction as well, because we were just following the masses like the sheep. And unfortunately, majority of the people die going to their grave without realizing their true purpose in life. And we've lived no differently to the animal kingdom, because we have 12 things in common with the animals that we do, which majority of us probably think that we're doing something very superior. We obviously think ourselves superior than the animals, and we are. But if we analyze our lives, we will see that the similarities that we have with the animals, majority of us spend the most of our lives just living on that physical level without really experiencing the intellectual birth, without really experiencing the spiritual birth. And what is the intellectual birth? The intellectual birth is the day the human being, sorry, let me ask the audience that. Who can tell me what the intellectual birth is? You're raising your hand, Brooks? No?
Yeah. The day you realize.
Okay. The day you realize why you were created, what is the purpose of our creation? So we realize that we haven't just been sent here to eat, sleep, drink, make money, have a good jolly time, and then die. So the intellectual birth is when you have that opening, where you understand, as I say, that the penny drops, why we were created. And spiritual birth is when you achieve that purpose, when you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you are able to follow the footsteps of the beloved Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As I mentioned, physical birth is what we share with other creation. And what I want to do now is there's no lights on, is there? Everybody can see the screen? Yeah? There's the things that, these are the things that we share with the animal kingdom. We eat. But what I want to, rather than giving you the list of the things that we share with the animal kingdom, I want to just highlight that in many instances, the animals are better than us in terms of doing the same activities. We pride ourselves on being better than the animal kingdom, but the animals are doing certain things which are better than us. And just for a little bit of feedback from yourselves, on eating, if I asked you, why are animals better than us, what would you say? After you raise your hand. Okay, Isa.
Because they eat healthy foods instead of these artificial chocolates and all that rubbish.
MashaAllah.
Well, you have chocolate at breakfast, like chocolate crepes. What's this?
Okay, I'll take that feedback to my teams. MashaAllah. Sorry?
Just porridge for now.
Okay, tomorrow
No sugar.
you're going to have porridge and dal for breakfast, right? That's exactly spot on. Animals are better than us when it comes to eating, because a cow, which is designed to eat grass and healthy food like just grass, it just eats grass. You won't see it eating a doner kebab. You won't see it going and eating other animals, because we human beings have actually strayed from the natural part of what we were designed to eat in terms of pure, sort of organic, healthy food. We now eat processed, we eat unhealthy, artificial foods. That foods, somebody sent me a video just recently on WhatsApp, that somebody opened one of these McDonald's burgers, and they actually put it in front of a dog, and the dog sniffed it and walked away and did not eat that burger. And these animals have that, intellectual sense as well, that what's good for them and what's not good for them. But we eat whatever rubbish that comes in front of us, and that's why our health has deteriorated, obesity is on the rise, and people are dying early through illnesses. Again, drink. We animals drink as well, as what the young man said. They drink better than us because we drink all sorts of other intoxicants and things which are not good for us. You won't find the animals doing that. They will just drink water because that's what they're designed to do. And we as human beings are not also designed to be drinking all these different intoxicants and artificial drinks that we have now, but we do to the detriment of our health. Sleep, okay, let's hear from yourself why animals are better than us when it comes to sleep. It's like,
They don't have any distractions like we do. So a lot of people are distracted nowadays by apps, social media, so they might be disturbed by their sleep. Animals, however, they don't have that liability, so they just sleep normally.
mashallah, spot on. Animals don't suffer from insomnia like we do. They're not like us tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep, distracted, disturbed by our thoughts, problems, whatever issues that we are facing. And they don't, we human beings in this modern era, we rely on tranquilizers to help us go to sleep, or now, online we find so many aids, whether it's some form of meditation, music, whatever, just to help you go to sleep, whereas animals don't suffer that problem. We work, but so do animals. What's so special about us working if animals work as well? And we work in a worse way than the animals. And I'll give you the feedback on this one. Is we overwork. We always get burdened with stress. We fall into depression because we are overly exerting ourselves in the world of work. Animals will do the bare minimum. Like the bird that leaves its nest in the morning to go and search for risk, for food, it just eats what it needs and then comes back home. We overwork and we accumulate more than what is necessary for us because we get engulfed in greed. We find a taxi driver, instead of working for 7 hours, 8 hours, just earning enough sustenance for that day, I will work 18 hours because I need to earn extra amount. And that's why we are strayed from the natural path. Historically, obviously, you have anomalies where you have the likes of Pharaoh, Qarun, who were very rich, accumulating wealth. But the vast majority of the people just earned enough sustenance for the day. And they never used to worry about the next day because they used to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they will know that tomorrow is another day. We'll wake up, we'll earn for that day, feed ourselves, and then come back home, go to sleep. Whereas we have taken this to a whole new different dimension. Many people, I know people who have so much money, they've accumulated so much wealth that I guarantee that they will never be able to use that wealth in their lifetime for their own benefit. And if anything, they will leave it behind for their families to fight over. In their lifetime, I know people who have so much money that they no longer have the heart to spend that money because it becomes a mental game that they are just accumulating, and then watching it grow. And it just becomes a numbers game in their mind, but they never have the heart anymore to either spend it on themselves or spend it on Allah's creation. So I know most of you will know somebody like that. So business-wise, we do business, but so does the honeybee. The honeybee makes bee. They've got their own honey-making factories. So what's so special about us doing business? Nothing special at all. If anything, like work, what we have done is we have gone the complete opposite way, where our businesses have taken over our lives. Money is something that was designed to serve me and you. It's like a creation. Money is a creation. It's designed to serve me and you. So if I've got money, I make my life easy. I help my brother, my sister, and help make other people's lives easy. But what's happened now is that instead of the money serving us, we have become the servants of the money. We have become enslaved by it. And the whole communities around us, whether it's our own families, our friends, whatever circles, communities we're living in, it basically is demonstrating to you what I'm just telling you, that we have become enslaved by the money. There's a hadith Hadith Qudsi, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned that this dunya is a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this dunya, Allah actually commanded it that, oh dunya, if any of my servants, i.e. me and you, if any of my servants desires me, i.e. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfills my commands, then, oh dunya, you become its servant, you serve that person, make their rizq easy for them. Gather all their rizq together and make it easy for them. If, however, if any of my servants desire you, O dunya, more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the person, the servant of Allah does not fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, i.e. doesn't pray, doesn't fast, he doesn't fulfill the rights of Allah, doesn't fulfill the rights of the creation, and he just desires the dunya, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded, instructed the dunya, that, oh dunya, then you enslave that person. You scatter his or her rizq everywhere and make them go round and round, chasing their rizq, tire them out, humiliate them on the earth. How many of us know people like that? In our communities, people around us, and when we also, this is the lessons that we are giving to you, especially for the new people. It's not that you come here and you just listen to a bayan and you go away. We're trying to draw everything and connect it back to the real life world out there. Maybe it resonates with something in your own life. Maybe, when I'm talking here, images of people that are popping up in your head of the people that you know that fit into this category. Oh my God, yes. This describes that person that I know. That relative of mine was constantly chasing the dunya and he doesn't have time for even his parents. That friend of mine who is just accumulating and he's so stingy that he doesn't even spend money on anybody else. He will never ever take you out for a meal. He's always available when you are offering a meal and he's prepared to go out, but he'll never invite you because he can't spend the money. And that's going back to the point of the people who desire the dunya as their main goal in life. They don't realize the real essence and the purpose of why they were created. Then those are the people that get humiliated. Those are the people that get tired out, as I say, running around like a headless chicken. So we get married, nothing special about that. Animals pair up as well. They get married, and they may be better than us in many instances. They don't spend £50,000 on a wedding and then get divorced 6 months later. So we're doing things completely in an opposite way, in a more destructive way. They have children, we have children. So again, there's nothing special there that we are doing. Bring up children. Can I just get some feedback as to why animals would be better than us in bringing up children? Anybody? Give me an example. Yes.
I would actually do it together. Whereas if we easy other things in our life, and it only be the mother that's actually doing it, or mother would be busy also going to work or whatever, and that's other childcare.
Okay, good point. So you raise your hand as well?
Yeah, it's because some people have kids for like dunya reasons as well. Like show off and with their own ego as well. Like sometimes they think of dunya as well. Like they have kids for dunya reasons.
Okay.
Or they have kids for this social benefits.
Social benefits. Okay. I didn't think that they're paying enough these days for people to have kids. Okay, that's a very good point. That animals bring up their children better than us because we don't, they don't create these kids, give birth to these kids and hand them over to childminders. They don't fight between themselves and raise them as single parents. They basically, like you see how the bird protects its offspring in the nest, show how much care that it shows. But these days, I've seen so many instances in the local press, especially in the Midlands, whenever I browse through the local press, even nationally, obviously, that people are abusing their own children. They're actually, whether it's physically, sexually, there have been many instances where people have killed their own children through cruelty, neglect, whatever reason, and they're now languishing in the prison. You won't hear that in the animal kingdom. Animals don't neglect their children and starve them to death. And so we human beings have become worse than the animals in many instances when it comes to raising our children. Does that make sense? Yeah? Train and raise children. Again, following on from the previous slide, animals teach their children what they're supposed to be trained at. A lion will teach its cub how to hunt. The birds will teach the birds how to fly. So we sometimes, through our own neglect, through our own incompetence, do not teach our children the very important life skills that they need to survive in this world. And although we're supposed to teach, educate, train them, but even that respect, we are failing miserably when we look at society and look at child delinquency, crime. It's because the parents have not trained and raised their children properly. Build houses. Animals build houses, we build houses. I want to hear another example of why the animal kingdom is better than us in building houses. I think we're all getting the flow now. Each example I'm able to show you how the animals are demonstrating better skill at doing these tasks that we do as human beings. But if your view's being blocked, please just come on this side here. You okay? Okay, I'm going to come back to you. Anybody on this side, I'm conscious that people have been a bit quiet. You don't point to anybody else. If you're not going to answer yourself, don't point at other people. Yes, young man?
They live by their mansions and by mansions and everything. We just build the baby.
MashaAllah. Beautiful answer. Does anybody have anything else different to that? Did you?
The building itself, they don't need people like yellow machines or anything.
Okay, good. Both very good points. Third point I'll mention as well. First one is, as the young man mentioned, animals build as per their requirements. That you won't see when a bird is building a nest that it's like 6 foot wide. It's basically small based on its requirements. We build big palatial homes, and there's only 2 people that are going to live in there. Homes which are well beyond our requirements, which are unnecessary, and the animals build themselves. They don't rely on other people like builders or machinery, other skilled people. The third point is why we are worse than animals is we again have gone against nature. If you look at our houses now, they are not environmentally friendly, they're not eco-friendly. If anything, they are hotter in summer and they are colder in winter. So we may have built houses which have poor insulation, which have houses which get too hot in summer. So we are building, back in the days, as our parents used to remind us that they used to have mud houses, our ancestors, that in summer they used to be cool, and in winter they used to sort of retain the heat, and they were good for people living in those houses. Whereas now we've gone the complete opposite way. We are building houses which are not necessarily good for us, they're not serving the purpose, and financially they're beyond our requirements. Does that make sense? Yeah? Sightseeing, animals do sightseeing, we do sightseeing, nothing special about that. Fighting. Anybody want to mention why we human beings are worse than animals when it comes to fighting? When Ahmed there putting his hand up, let's give him the mic and hear what he wants to share with us.
Animals fight, they fight for their food, but when we fight, we just fight for no reason with each other.
MashaAllah, that's absolutely true. Animals fight, you know, when they're fighting for food or their space. We fight over the most pettiest, the most silliest reasons. Husband and wives have got divorced over petty arguments. And whereas you won't find that in the animal kingdom, where people are fighting over petty things. So it's a very, very good point there, Imām. So I've mentioned to you now the 12 things that the animal kingdom does, and we do as well, and they are better than us. And just a quick. Sorry, Imām.
I wanted to add something about the fighting. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is true, but I'm guessing that animals would swear at each other.
Yeah, obviously.
So I guess that's a form of fighting.
Yeah. Of course, no, we're not going to say that animals don't fight over small things. Maybe an animal just strays into another animal's territory by accident and they will start fighting. But they're not petty like us. Animals will probably fight and then they'll forget about it. Whereas we, human beings, can hold grudges for years and years and years. And how many instances do we know that two brothers or two friends have a fallout with each other? The Sunnah way is, the Sharia way is that no brother should not speak to his brother for more than 3 days if they have an argument or a dispute. 3 days is the maximum limit. After that, you should basically have a reconciliation. Beyond that, it sort of falls out, it goes beyond, it's a breach of the Sharia that you are not talking to your brother for more than 3 days. But we know now, around us, in our families, our circles, that people end up not talking to each other for years and years. Not 3 days, up to 3 days, but for years. I mean, I know instances where two brothers are not speaking to each other for years. And if you analyze the reason why they are not talking to each other, it'll be a whole series of different reasons, and it'll trickle down to the first episode that was triggered everything off, which would be so like peripheral, so small, like he never invited me to his house for a party, or I invited him and he never came. So next time the other one has a party, he doesn't invite him. Then it becomes a grudge. They stop talking to each other. Then they have bigger functions in their families, and they don't call each other. Then someone dies and he says, I'm not going to the funeral. Then someone dies in their family, they say, we're not going to the funeral. And that's how they become completely broken, that relationship. The gulf that has been created is so severe and strong that they are unable to patch up their differences in their lifetime. How many of you have seen those examples in your communities and families? I would be surprised if there isn't one person here who has not seen that. If you have not seen that, either you're living in paradise or you've not lived in terms of you've not come out of the house to see what's going on in society out there. Honestly, we were talking as we were driving up here yesterday that it seems like every family has got an issue with somebody close within the family. Households are erupting in noise of disputes and problems. So we've got an idea now of the 12 things that we have in common with the animals. I've been able to demonstrate to you with the many examples that how the animals are better than us. And we need to raise our game. We need to go beyond that level of living like animals. And unfortunately, the majority of us are living like that, where we wake up, we've gone to work, and if you just analyze in your own life now, just for a moment, I want you all to have a little bit of a self-reflection, that what are the dominant thoughts that occupy my mind on a daily basis? What is it that you think about all day long? It could be you go to work and you're constantly thinking about how to make more money. You have your own business, and it's right at the forefront of your mind when you wake up in the morning is, how do I do my hustle today and make the most money, whether it's going to work or running your business. And then it's about, what am I going to eat today? The mind is occupied with, what am I going to eat? What am I going to wear today? So all throughout the day, we are literally just feeding the body, feeding in terms of food, feeding in terms of clothes, and feeding in terms of, your nafs. You want to earn more money because that's going to give you more desires and pleasures that you are able to fulfill. So think about that for your own life. What is it that dominates your mind on a daily basis? Or you could be somebody who wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh Allah, today I have risen with your mercy, and I'm going to achieve something today to help myself to achieve your closeness. I'm going to please you today. I'm going to help your creation today. I'm going to do something that which I've never done before. I'm going to try to please you the way I've never done before. And I'm going to follow in the footsteps of the beloved Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Ask ourselves, are these the thoughts that dominate your mind on a daily basis? Or is it the former, which is of the dunya, just feeding the physical self? And look around, how many restaurants are opening, how many dessert parlors are opening. It shows you that we have become people who are just fulfilling our desires. We want to eat this, eat that, try new foods, go to different places. It's all about just eat. And somebody said something to me the other day, which I thought, I was able to reflect on that and say to them that this is the reason why they're thinking like that. Somebody says, "I used to go to this restaurant and they used to do nice food." You hear this a lot. "Oh, they used to do nice food, but their standards have gone down now. Their food isn't that good anymore." That's not the case. Their food is probably the same. It's just that your nafs no longer finds joy in eating that same food. You've eaten it so many times now that you no longer, the nafs wants something more. And our Honorable Ustadh Harun will be touching upon that more later about the nafs, this entity inside of us, that once it gets accustomed to a certain desire, pleasure, after a while, you get bored, you want more, you want something different. And that's how people, go into other kinds of sins like adultery, where because they keep desiring something more and they are unable to reach that level of satisfaction. And that's why they keep sinning and transgressing beyond that. Does that make sense? Yeah? So, we have, inside our brain, we have these dopamine receptors that which give us a rush, which should I say a boost when we do something new. But if you've done something so many times, you just get bored and you want to keep trying something different. And that's why, social media is so addictive because we now have been exposed to so much that the brain gets bored. You want to try something new, different. You want to see something new all the time. And that's why people have become full of anxiety and they no longer have that peace of mind that our ancestors used to have because they don't have these tools which are playing with their mind. Right, intellectual birth, I've given you physical, and I want to sort of, without going into too much detail, just touch upon intellectual birth as well. I mentioned earlier, this is the day when you realize why you were born. Why you were born, how to achieve that purpose. That, you know, the purpose, I mean, let me ask you guys, why were we born? What's the purpose of our creation? What would you say in a nutshell? All the points are going on the left side there. There's only one candidate is getting all the points here. So, to worship Allah. Okay.
Submission to Allah, so read namaz and follow Islam and follow the
Isa?
It was created for the pleasure of Allah.
MashaAllah. Okay. So, we and you know that. Majority, if not all the people here know that we were created for the pleasure of, to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know that, but why do we not achieve that? Because if I'm not reading salah, I'm not fasting, I'm not fulfilling the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why is that? Why am I not doing it? If I know, I mean, it's a separate thing if you don't know, but if you know, then why aren't you doing that? It's easy. Yesterday I was speaking to someone from Azhar yesterday, that we say with our tongue, yes, we love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We are Ashiq Rasul, you know, lovers of the Prophet. Oh, I wish I was there in that, on that day of Karbala, and I would have been with Imām Hussayn radiallahu anhu fighting against Yazid. I wish I was there on the day of Badr. I would have been in the camp of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fighting against Abu Jahl and his armies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you in this era, this time in the dunya, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows through the infinite wisdom what is best for me and you. If me and you, I speak about myself, were born at the time of Karbala, maybe I would have been in the camp of Yazid because of my laziness, because of my wretchedness, because of, you know, my poor character. If we were there at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, maybe I verbally professed that I love Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, but when that call for the Battle of Badr had come, I would have made excuses like I do now, because I can't get up for Fajr in the morning, because I can't, you know, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way I'm supposed to. And maybe I would have excused myself from that Badr. Or I would have been easily led by Abu Jahl and his armies and been in the opposite side. The reason I mention this is, again, we have to analyze our lives as we are living today. We know what we are supposed to do. We know what is good for us, what is bad for us, but the majority of people are not doing that. If I know that intellectually I know that I shouldn't be looking at unlawful things on the internet, then why do I do that? Why am I habitually falling into these sins? If I know alcohol and drugs are bad for me, from an Islamic point of view, Sharia forbids these things. I know it's bad for my health, my physical and mental health, but I still indulge in these intoxicants. I know I shouldn't be doing that. I shouldn't be doing it, but I still do. It's because we've trained ourselves over the years to commit these sins. We derive a pleasure. Our nafs likes it. and we want to keep feeding the nafs with his desires. And the habitual pattern is so strong that I keep doing it despite knowing I shouldn't be doing it. So that's what we want to teach here, a methodology over today and tomorrow, how to break those habitual patterns of sin and addictions so you can resist that bad temptation when it hits you, when you know that something unlawful has come up on your phone, whether it's TikTok or whatever it is, and the temptation to look will be strong, but the will not to look will be even stronger, and you'll be able to overcome those temptations. And you know, just a couple of days ago, somebody was showing me what TikTok really is. I know TikTok's not good, but how bad it was. I was just telling my own son just a couple of days ago that somebody actually showed me a couple of days ago how bad these social media apps are, like TikTok. And I was actually shocked at how easily our youngsters are getting manipulated into watching this filth that is so readily available on TikTok, and how, you know, without even searching, things are just hitting them and corrupting them. And if anybody here, youngsters especially who have got TikTok, I'd advise you to delete that app and refrain from ever having to look at it again. Because sometimes even we get religious sort of, even if you're not signed up to TikTok, you'll get somebody send you a message with just a statement or a clip, and you watched it, finished watching it, and when that video finishes, a whole series of other videos open up underneath, and you can see straight away how inappropriate and disgusting that they are. And obviously you have to be a member on the platform to watch them if you wanted to. And even if you're not a member, you still get these thumbnails of what, you know, you can have a look at. So it's really, I know how I digressed onto this, but every message of ours is just to bring you back to the facts of reality that we are faced with now. That, you know, intellectually we know what's right for us, but we still don't fulfill and adhere to those commands. Because the pull of the dunya is so strong now, especially through the internet. It's our mashayikh, our teacher Sheikh Ahmad Dabar once mentioned in a talk that it seems as if the internet has really become a tool of the shayateen to, you know, help corrupt us. It's like the shayateen have become enlivened and re-energized through the internet to use against us. Yes, there's good things on the internet as well, without a doubt. But unfortunately, if you analyze the statistics, majority of the internet is used for the wrong things. The biggest searches obviously are for pornographic material, which has the highest, you know, frequency and in terms of search, what people are searching, whether it's in these countries or even in developing countries. And that's why you see, you know, there's a huge, you know, sort of explosion in sexual crimes and offences. It's because of what people are being exposed to on the internet. The mind, once it gets exposed to something like that, it opens up a new dimension, which then afterwards it becomes difficult to return that same mind to the old dimension unless you are training yourself to clean that filth from inside of you. Does that make sense, right? You all following so far? What we teach you here is how to understand the purpose of your life, how to have that big picture, the holistic vision of life. And I just want to briefly touch upon this diagram. How many of you have not seen this before? This is what we call the journey of the human being. I know many of you have, but there's some of you who haven't. There's some new people here. This is the journey that every human being takes from the moment they are born to the moment they die and then they are resurrected on the day of judgment. You know how we say we have the physical, intellectual, and spiritual birth? But here, I will show you that how there are 5 stages of birth as well. In the first instance, this is a period, before we were all born, there was a period where there was no creation apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was a period that me and you did not exist. And then, if you look, there was a world of spirits where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created my spirit and your spirit and everybody's spirit who has lived on the earth and passed away now, and people who are yet to come in the future who, according to us, have not been born yet. So every spirit was created in one go by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us all the gift of free will. The free will is that we have the choice either to do good or to do evil, and that choice is given to us after we readily accepted it, because it was given to all of creation, the animal kingdom, the mountains, the angels, and human beings and the jinns accepted this free gift. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then entered into a covenant with us that who we will be worshipping when we are after we've given this free will. And we said, Ya Allah, you are our Lord, and we will follow your commands and we will worship you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, I've given this free will. You will have the opportunity to either do good or evil based upon your own choices in life. Just remember, if you fulfill my commands, then I will reward you, like with rewards and pleasures of paradise that you will never have experienced and witnessed before. If you do not fulfill my commands and you go down your own evil path, you will be punished in the hellfire like you've never witnessed and experienced before. And we, in the world of spirits, it's easy to say, Ya Allah, yes, of course, we should fulfill your commands and worship you. But that's what Allah says, okay, now's the time to test you. And how we are being tested is because we have been sent here for a short period of our lives in this dunya. And this is where the real test is. We haven't come here to have a picnic. We haven't come here to build, multi-million-pound businesses, build a career, make money, have a good time. We've been sent here to be tested. And the sooner we and you realize that, the better it will be for us. That this is a short life and we've just been tested. Are we going to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and live like the way we have been shown by the beloved Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Or am I going to follow my own desires? I'm going to completely disregard the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to follow my celebrity role models, film stars, pop stars, or even these days YouTube stars, which I would say proper Z-grade celebrities that people are following now. There's so many influences out there to influence our lives. So ask yourself, who am I following? And why we commanded to follow Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and make them our role model is because whichever role model you allow to inhabit in your heart is the one that you will follow. The one that you will want to look like, the one that you will want to behave like. So that's why it's very important to have the right role model. When we die, we have the world of Barzakh, which is the world of the grave. Then there will be a day of accountability, which we call Yawm al-Qiyamah, day of judgment. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge us based upon our deeds. And that's not to say just because I've had good deeds, I've got more good deeds than bad deeds, and I will automatically go into heaven. Don't forget that we will not be going to heaven because of our good deeds. It will be purely through the fazl, mercy, and generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because my deeds are not even worthy of being presented to the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My deeds have so much corruption even inside of them. I mean, maybe I did those to impress the people, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I used to do good deeds in the dunya to show off to the people, to show them that I'm a pious person. So there's no real sincerity in my deeds. So that's why don't ever get into this deceitful thought or delusion that I've got so many good deeds and I'll be going to heaven. No, maybe a sinful person who had a life full of evil deeds, they have just done one good deed in their life, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has such mercy upon them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts them in the heavens based on that one deed. And there's many examples in the hadith. There was one woman of poor character who may have been a prostitute or something like that, that she fed a thirsty dog that she saw in a hot summer day, a dog that was thirsty. She fed that dog, Allah's creation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved that deed so much that He blessed her with paradise, even though she had no other good deeds. So it's just a point I wanted to mention regarding their judgment, that when we go there, that we're not relying on our deeds. And at the same time, if you've lived a life, which has been against the commands of Allah, which has been full of evil ways, there's still hopeful. Because one sincere tawbah, repentance before death, can wipe away those sins. And majority of the people that will be going to hell will be going not because, let me rephrase that. Many of the people who will be going to heaven will be going into heaven not because they've not done any bad deeds, it's just that they've been constantly doing tawbah, repenting for their deeds. Whereas the one who goes to heaven is someone more than likely who has ended up there because they did not do tawbah, they did not repent for their deeds before they passed away. And then you have the never-ending life, everlasting life of either eternal bliss in paradise or punishment in the hellfire. Listen, man.
I think that you accidentally said that the person who ends up in heaven, you
Yeah.
actually said heaven instead of hell.
Sorry, Imām. Thanks for correcting me. That's why I'm glad to see you awake. So, the main thing is it's relying upon the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is a one-way journey, no return, no second chance. That's why in this dunya, short life, it's a very, very short life. Make the most of it in terms of ensuring that you remain connected to the big holistic vision of why you were created, and be always in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you've just come and had a good time and then you passed away, you've short-changed yourself, because it's a very short life. And if all of you just analyze wherever you were at in terms of your age, you're in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, you'll see, if you look back, that it has gone so quickly. It's really, years have passed by so rapidly. Even if you have a life where you're living 80 years of age or 100 years of age, you're still going to die, and it's going to go so quickly. And every single day is passing by so quickly now. So don't trade this life of the dunya for the never-ending life of the akhirah. What we hope for and aim for is the pleasure of Allah and the mercy of Allah for us to all go into heaven. So this life, many people will regret when they realize that they're wasted in temporary enjoyments. And when they go, even the people who will end up in heaven will have great regret of the time that they wasted on the earth. Because if they hadn't, maybe the rank that they have in heaven will be a lot higher, would have been a lot higher if they had spent their time more wisely in the dunya. So finally, have a good balance, prioritize why you've been created, and honestly and sincerely pursue this ultimate goal and sacrifice the temporal for the permanent, and make the plans, inshallah, over the next day or so. We will give you plans and action points of how to become a better person, how to basically fulfill the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the ultimate aim is the spiritual birth, is to have that beautiful relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, beautiful relationship with yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you commit sin, you are doing zulm upon yourself. You are basically, violating your own rights, because the body, yourself, has the most rights over yourself, and you don't want to be sending yourself to a life of eternity in hellfire because of your deeds. And ensure that you have the best relationship with Allah's creation. The biggest sunnah of the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that, which I just showed you, just a short one of this one, having the most beautiful relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having the most beautiful relationship with Allah's creation. When we ask what is, give me the best sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you'd be surprised that many people, when they're thinking about the sunnah, they're thinking about the miswak, they think about the beard, and they think about the outwardly things that they were able to see. But the most important sunnah of the beloved Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was having that most beautiful relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being constantly living in that divine presence and having the best relationship with Allah's creation. And just touching upon Allah's creation is not only being good. Okay, let me rewind back. In terms of relationship with Allah, being good with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when you are on your own, in solitude, in private, not just when you are in a group of people that you show that you're religious, you're pious, you're doing the good deeds. The reality, the sincerity will come across when you are on your own. And in terms of the best relationship with Allah's creation, it's when you help people who are unable to do anything for you in return. It's very easy helping people, befriending them, feeding them, chilling with them, when you know these are your friends who can help you when you need them, when you need money, when you need help, when you need things. But the most difficult thing is helping the creation when you know that they can't do anything for you in return. And that's when your sincerity is basically tested. And very finally, every human being has five entities inside of them in terms of their identity. And we'll touch upon this in more detail later on, but I just want to just highlight them now very briefly, that who are you? This is what I've said to some of you yesterday. What you will learn about here is about your identity. If somebody asks you, what is a human being made of? What would you say? Is it bones and flesh? Is it your heart? That sums me up. Is it my intellect? Or is there something else? So I've mentioned the heart, I've mentioned the mind, I've mentioned the physical body. There's two more things. If anybody could mention to round the session off. I know you know the answer, so I'm going to come back to you. If nobody else knows the answer, but if anybody else there, what are you? Heart, mind, physical body. There's two of the things which are inside of us.
We have the spirits as well.
MashaAllah, spirits, yes. That's the fourth thing. Fifth, anyone?
Conscious.
That would be more like a mind thing, isn't it? So body, mind, heart, spirit is shown in the middle. This fifth one, MashaAllah. Soul, yeah. Soul can be described as a nafs that is inside of us. So these are the 5 entities. The only thing that I would say to you, just to finish this session, is the spirit is the one that will be meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The spirit is the one that has met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the world of spirits. That's why in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hearts find rest and peace. The problem we do is we're constantly feeding the body in this world, but we forget to feed the spirit. And that's why people fall into depression, people fall into anxiety, and all sorts of problems out there because they neglect the spirit, which is the real entity inside of us that craves that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we'll be going into that in a bit more detail. I will finish here. That was the allocated time that I had, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all for your engagement and interaction. And I'm happy to see that many of you are, very familiar and are thinking on the right lines as regards to, what was discussed. So most important thing is taking these with you outside of this classroom and this training session, that you remember these things when you're out there in the world of work and socializing and when you're with your family, and you know that when an argument or a fight erupts, that this is just a temporary world. This is just me being tested, and how I react will be based on my character, and we will try and ensure that we help you build the right character based on the prophetic principles. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Jazakallah khair to Ustadh for an enlightening session, and really, obviously, we all thought that we are better than, but that really could put it in context that things that we do on a normal day to day, we think, we are achieving something. Now there's a break till 11:10, so if I could ask both the physical and online participants to join us at 11:10. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.